Again, since I've already gone into great detail about bassist Scape's music for both game nights and Got Game, so this segment will be more Kwife's thought on the music rather than my own.
I personally thought the music was simply beautiful. Being unfamiliar with Japanese folklore in ancient Japan, unlike Kwing, who studied a lot during his college years, I was captivated by all the different musical styles of ancient Japan. Sakamoto's music uses all kinds of different instruments, musical styles, and a lot of emotion. At times, the music is very peaceful, like falling rain or running water, and other times the music gets very intense, almost rocky. Since I am a violin player myself, I loved hearing how the composer showcased the violin. The violin is used in so many different ways throughout Demon Blade, almost as if the violin itself is telling the game's story, which I thought was just so cool. Japanese musicians seem to always pour out their soul and heart when they're playing, and I think that's wonderful. You can definitely hear it here. Their expressive music just brings to life for me all the amazing places and wonderful things in the beautiful Demon Blade story.
Well put, sweetheart. Yes, I love the original soundtrack for this game as well. Each time Sakamoto gets involved with creating a game's soundtrack, the end result is just incredible.
When I first heard about this game at E3, I was under the impression the game would be a co-op adventure, that the two main characters would have more of an interaction as opposed to two separate stories. But when I actually started playing it, I really liked the way this game was designed.
Well, when I first saw this game, I thought they would have some cool uses of the motion controls. Although, to be honest, I was happy they chose to go with the traditional 2D controls. It just works to this game's strength so much.
Lastly, I wasn't quite sure if I would like the subtitles or not. They were a little bit small, but all in all, I really enjoyed hearing all the different Japanese voice actors, and I'm really glad that they kept this game in its original language. Demon Blade is an action, platforming RPG, brought to you by the same company that created Odin Sphere for the PS2. Originally, Marvelous Entertainment had been talking to Sony and Microsoft about releasing Demon Blade, but both companies decided against it, since the game was two-dimensional and was hand-drawn. Instead, however, they began discussions with Nintendo, and we all know how that went. While in the development, the game's code name was Princess Crown 3, similar to how Odin Sphere was called Princess Crown 2.
Game director George Kamatani said his goal was to create an atmosphere and gameplay similar to that of The Legend of Cage and Genpai Tomoden. The music was done by Sakamoto's renowned company. Muramasa released in Japan under the title of Oboro Muramasa, or The Hazy Legend of Muramasa's Mystical Sword, on April 9th of 2009. On September 8th of 2009, Demon Blade released here in the States and has been met with a lot of praise from gamers and critics alike for its visual style, gameplay, combat, replay value, music, and much more. Publisher Ignition revealed in an interview with the NPD that sales are doing very well. Melody Fredea gave a ballpark figure of 35,000 sold in the States for the month of September, with a small margin of 15 to 20%. She also said that the upbeat reviews will help push the game to new heights for sales this Christmas season. As far as long term, the company is pleased as well, saying that the game will exceed Odin Sphere's cult status. Personally, I think that this game will sell 1 or 2 million copies before next fall. Vanillaware was smart to release this game on the system with the largest audience of 60 million this generation. Even though the high-definition company shot down this game's potential, rumors are still circulating that this game will release on the PS3 and 360 as well. However, Kamatami has put the rumors to rest, saying that in order to port the game, the sprites would have to be remade, as would the game itself for high-definition visuals. He also said that he and his team have no plans to work on Demon Blade anymore. However, he didn't say that another developer couldn't port this game, but he says it's unlikely they'll see Oboro Muramasa on an HD system.
Lastly, much like Odin Sphere, this game may or may not get a sequel. The developers hinted in interviews that this game is Demon Blade Volume 1. Whether or not this is a joke is yet to be seen. However, evidence does hint at the game being continued after the second and third endings of the two characters, although I wouldn't hold your breath.
Did you guys know that the easiest way to break a samurai's swords is by switching blades? Once the blades are broken, you can finish them off rather quickly. Also in the bamboo forest, you can dodge pikes by rolling, or you can jump over them, but I recommend rolling, it's much faster. The best way to gain levels in this game is by fighting in the challenge missions. I gained lots of levels fighting off those ghosts in the snowy mountain.
Remember to keep changing your equipment. Try to always equip the swords with the highest attack power. During a fight, sometimes when you switch swords, you can automatically kill certain enemies, like those flying purple things, animals, and sometimes even ninjas. The biggest tip we can give you guys is how to collect lots of spirit points, or SP. The game has a few ways to gain SP, like fighting bosses, taking on the challenge modes, eating stuff with a lot of spirits points at the various ramen shops, and even cooking. Yes, cooking. The more food you cook, the more your SP increases. You can also purchase as many swords as you want, unless you're not a high enough level to use them. This is great for early in the game, where you can use swords with very high attack powers.
Actually, K-Wife, you can only use the higher up swords if you're a high enough level. Otherwise, you won't have enough strength to even hold the sword. After beating the game with each of the characters, equip the swords you won from defeating their final bosses respectively. If done right, you'll fight the other main character to the death, and be rewarded with the game's second ending. Score! For the third time playing the game, make sure you defeat the white barrier challenges. After doing this, you're rewarded with a special sword each time. Collecting all of them lets you forge the last 13 blades. Now back to the final boss and equip the famous Demon Blade, and you will get the last ending for each of the characters.